The house smelled like lemon cleaner and loneliness. Outside, the Arizona sunset painted the walls in gold, but inside, the kitchen light hummed faintly above a single bowl of soup. Evelyn Brooks sat at the island, staring into the steam that had already faded. Her phone buzzed beside her. She picked it up, half hoping it was her son Jason saying, "Mom, we're on our way to get you. There's a seat at the table for you." It wasn't. The message read, "Mother-in-law, remember to heat up the leftovers in the fridge. Don't waste them." Evelyn blinked, reread it 3 times. The words looked polite, but the venom dripped from between the lines. She could almost hear Madison's voice, smug, superior, careful to call her mother-in-law like a job title rather than a name. Evelyn typed a simple, "Okay." Then she placed the phone on the table and just sat there, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, the faint tick of the clock, the hollow silence that filled the spaces laughter used to live. It was supposed to be a celebration night. Madison's big promotion. Regional operations manager at 34. They had booked a rooftop restaurant called Skyline and Vine, where the cheapest dish cost more than Evelyn's weekly grocery budget. Jason had worn the crisp white shirt she'd ironed that morning, and their 2 kids, Tyler and Lily, had giggled as they left, excited about dessert. "You're not coming, Grandma?" Lily had asked. Madison had smiled too quickly. "It's adults only, sweetie. Grandma will hold down the fort." Now, scrolling through Instagram, Evelyn saw their faces lit by chandeliers. Jason's arm around Madison, champagne flutes raised, children perched between Madison's mother and sister. The caption read, "Celebrating my queen. Regional manager, age 34. Here's to women who never stop." Within minutes, the post had over 200 likes. Evelyn's own reflection stared back at her in the black screen of her phone. Pale, tired, invisible. She looked around the immaculate kitchen she had cleaned that afternoon. The polished granite counters, the glossy white tiles. Every inch of this house had her fingerprints, her labor, her money. 3 years ago, she had sold her old bungalow, her home with the rose trellis her late husband David had built, to help Jason and Madison buy this place. "You'll live with us, Mom," Jason had said, all sincerity and coffee breath. "The kids adore you. We'll take care of you." She'd signed the sale papers, given them $68,000 for the down payment, trusting her son completely. The rest she'd placed in savings as a cushion for her twilight years. But months passed, and she noticed her name was never added to the deed. "Why complicate things?" Jason had said. "It's our family home." Family. The word stung now. Evelyn stood, her knees trembling slightly, and crossed to the window. The street outside glowed under the soft halo of a lamppost. A coyote's distant howl rose from the desert edge. Something inside her shifted. A quiet cracking, like thin glass under pressure. She didn't feel anger. Not yet. What she felt was a sudden, icy calm. She moved methodically. From the hall closet, she retrieved a small blue sewing box, her mother's. Inside were spools of faded thread, a silver thimble, and beneath them, a thick notebook bound in worn leather. She opened it carefully. Inside, page after page of receipts were taped down. New refrigerator, washer and dryer, furniture, renovations, mortgage contributions. 3 years of evidence written in her delicate cursive. Every dollar she had poured into this house. And beneath the notebook, wrapped in plastic, were the original property papers. Her name, Evelyn L. Brooks, stood clearly as sole owner. Jason had once promised to update the deed, but he never did. Perhaps some stubborn part of her had known better. Her pulse steadied. She pulled open her phone's file app and scrolled through the secret folder of recordings she had saved. Madison's voice laughing on a call. "It's like having a free maid. She cooks, cleans, babysits, and we don't even pay her." Evelyn closed the phone. Enough. She went to her room, pulled out the large brown suitcase, the same one she and David had taken on their last trip to the coast. Into it, she placed her clothes, the framed photos of her husband, her rosary, and the old Italian coffee maker she loved. On Jason's pillow, she left a folded note. For 3 years I lived here unseen. I cleaned your floors, raised your children, paid your bills, and swallowed your contempt. Tonight, I will no longer be invisible. You'll find the papers you need to understand why. On Madison's nightstand, she left the manila envelope containing the deed and a yellow sticky note. This house is in my name. Always was. At exactly 11:15 p.m., Evelyn stepped out, locking the door behind her. For the first time in years, she kept the keys. As the Uber headlights swept across the driveway, she whispered to herself, not in bitterness, but in clarity, I was never the help. I was the owner. And as the car pulled away, the house that had buried her for 3 years finally stood behind her, empty and trembling. The Uber's taillights disappeared into the darkness, leaving the house behind like a stage after the curtain falls. Inside, everything Evelyn Brooks had endured for 3 years was about to unravel. At 1:23 a.m., Jason and Madison pulled into the driveway, still laughing from the champagne haze. Shh, the kids are asleep, Jason murmured as they stumbled up the porch steps. Madison, her heels clicking against the tiles, giggled. Your mom's probably passed out on the couch. She twisted the key, pushed open the door, then froze. The house was too quiet. Not the usual peaceful kind, but a silence that hummed, alert, alive. The living room light flicked on, revealing a subtle absence. The embroidered cushions on the couch were gone. The framed photos on the wall, missing. The coffee maker she despised for being old-fashioned, gone too. Madison frowned. Did your mom move things? Jason called softly. Mom? His voice echoed through the spotless house. No answer. He walked to the kitchen, switched on the light. The hook where Evelyn's floral apron usually hung was empty. The refrigerator was spotless, the counters gleaming, everything in perfect order, almost staged. On the island sat a folded piece of paper with his name written in her delicate handwriting. Jason opened it, scanning the words. His face drained of color. For 3 years, I lived here unseen. I cleaned, I paid, I stayed silent. Tonight, I stopped being your ghost. The house you stand in isn't yours. Read the papers beside you. You'll understand. He turned, trembling, toward the nightstand in their bedroom. There lay a thick manila envelope, and on top of it, a sticky note in bold black ink. This house is in my name. Always was. Madison snatched the envelope and tore it open. Inside were official documents stamped by the county recorder, owner, Evelyn L. Brooks. Her lips parted, her eyes wide. This can't be real, she whispered. She didn't. Jason sank onto the bed, staring at the papers. She did, he said quietly. I remember the day we bought the place. She paid everything. I told her we'd update the deed later. I never did. Madison's panic flared. Then fix it. Contest it. We've been living here for 3 years. Doesn't that mean something? Good faith ownership? Whatever. Jason shook his head, hands gripping his hair. Madison, she's got proof. Every payment, every receipt, everything. She's meticulous. You know her. Down the hall, a small voice called out, Dad? It was Tyler, rubbing his eyes. Where's Grandma? Jason looked at his son, guilt slashing through him like a knife. She's gone, buddy. Madison turned away, muttering, Unbelievable. She's trying to destroy us. But deep down, she knew it wasn't destruction. It was payback. By morning, the neighborhood knew. Word traveled faster than wildfire. Madison's co-workers whispered. The neighbor across the street texted, Saw your mother-in-law leaving last night with a suitcase. Everything okay? At 8 a.m., Evelyn was sitting at a mahogany table in her niece's law office. Ava Chen, calm, brilliant, 38, adjusted her glasses and scanned the documents Evelyn had laid out like a general preparing for battle. Deed in your name, receipts, mortgage transfers, audio files. Oh, Aunt Evelyn, this is solid, ironclad. Evelyn nodded, her voice steady. I'm not doing this for revenge, Ava. I just want my dignity back. Ava smiled faintly. Dignity is the best revenge. By 11:02 a.m., Ava had drafted the first legal letter, Notice of Ownership Confirmation and Mediation, a formal demand for Jason and Madison to appear with counsel to resolve the property's status. It included a full breakdown of Evelyn's contributions, down to the penny, $136,800 in total. Meanwhile, at the Brooks residence, chaos reigned. Jason sat at the kitchen table, eyes red from a sleepless night, while Madison paced the floor, phone pressed to her ear, calling every lawyer she could find. Each one gave the same answer. If the deed is in her name, she owns it. Your occupants at will. Jason slammed his palm against the table. We did this to her, he muttered. Madison spun. She did this to us. That afternoon, Evelyn posted a short message on Facebook. After years of being unseen, I remembered that respect isn't a favor, it's a right. Within hours, comments poured in from church friends, neighbors, even strangers. Stories of mothers, grandmothers, women who had given everything and been forgotten. Evelyn read each one with quiet awe. That night, while Madison fumed and Jason searched for forgiveness in an empty house, Evelyn sat at Linda Morales' dining table, sipping chamomile tea. Her suitcase was tucked neatly by the door. Linda watched her, smiling softly. You don't look angry. I'm not, Evelyn said. I'm awake. And as her phone buzzed again, Jason's name lighting up the screen, Evelyn simply turned it face down. The war had begun, but for the first time in years, she finally felt peace. Monday morning arrived sharp and clear, the Arizona sun already burning through the blinds of Patel and Rowan law offices. Evelyn Brooks sat across from her niece, Ava Chen, her hands folded neatly on the table. In front of her lay a stack of documents, the deed, the receipts, the USB drive, and a thick ledger that held 3 years of her invisible life. At 9:52 a.m., the glass door opened. Jason entered first, his tie crooked, eyes hollow from sleeplessness. Behind him, Madison followed. No red lipstick this time, no power suit. She looked smaller, fragile even. Her hair pulled into a tight ponytail, as if control could still be salvaged by force. Good morning, Evelyn greeted, her tone even. Jason nodded. Madison didn't speak. Raj Patel, the mediator, adjusted his glasses. Let's begin, he said calmly. Mrs. Brooks is here to clarify ownership and resolve occupancy status. Ms. Reed Brooks, Mr. Brooks, please confirm your understanding of today's discussion. Madison's jaw tightened. We understand. Patel leaned forward. According to the county record, this property, 847 Juris Drive, is solely registered to Evelyn L. Brooks, correct? Jason swallowed hard. Yes, Madison snapped. But she lived with us. That has to count for something. 3 years. She contributed because she stayed there rent-free. Ava slid a document across the table. You mean the house she bought, furnished and paid for, while cleaning, cooking, and raising your children? She said smoothly. These are verified bank transfers. Down payment, mortgage gaps, repairs, furniture, totaling $136,800. And, Mrs. Reed Brooks, your name appears nowhere. Madison opened her mouth, but no words came. The silence in the room thickened. Patel continued, his voice calm but cutting. Additionally, Mrs. Brooks possesses audio recordings demonstrating sustained emotional and financial exploitation. She is entitled to pursue eviction, repayment, and damages. Jason turned to his mother. Mom, I didn't know. I swear. Evelyn's gaze softened, but didn't waver. You didn't want to know, Jason. There's a difference. Madison crossed her arms. This feels like blackmail. Evelyn met her eyes squarely. No, it's accountability. Ava opened her laptop, pressing play. Madison's own voice filled the room. It's like having a free maid. She cooks, cleans, and I don't even have to pay her. Another clip followed. Madison to her sister. Once she gets too old to move around, we'll find her a retirement home and keep the house. Win-win. Madison froze, face pale, mascara trembling at her lashes. Jason buried his face in his hands. God, Madison, please tell me that's not you. It was frustration, she stammered. Jokes, jokes, Evelyn said quietly. That's what I was to you? A joke with a mop? No one spoke. The only sound was the ticking clock and the low hum of the air conditioner. Patel cleared his throat. Mrs. Brooks, what outcome are you seeking? Evelyn took a steady breath. Not destruction. Justice. Ava passed around a new set of papers. Our proposal is as follows. A 60-40 property division. Mrs. Brooks retains the majority share and full ownership rights. The Brookses may remain occupants under a cohabitation agreement. Additionally, Mrs. Brooks will lease her 60% to a family of her choosing at fair rent, and Mr. Jason Brooks will attend 6 months of family therapy sessions with his mother. The tenants will share the common areas, kitchen, living room, backyard. All legal and binding. Madison blinked, disbelieving. You want us to live with strangers? In our own house? Evelyn's lips curved into a calm, almost sad smile. That's what I did. For 3 years. Jason looked up at her. Then, really looked, and something cracked open in his face. You're right, he whispered. You were the stranger in your own home. I let that happen. Madison's shoulders slumped. And if we refuse? Then, Ava said crisply, we proceed with immediate eviction and full legal restitution. You'd lose everything. A beat of silence. Then Jason reached for the pen. His hand shook as he signed. We'll do it, he said. Madison hesitated, then followed, pressing her name onto the line like an admission of guilt. Evelyn signed last, her signature steady. For the first time, the paper bore her power, not her servitude. Patel gathered the contracts. It's done, he said. The house stands shared. The lesson, perhaps, earned. Evelyn rose slowly, collected her documents, and turned toward the door. Before stepping out, she looked back. Mr. Patel, she said, her voice gentle but clear. When people forget gratitude, life has a way of reminding them. Then she smiled faintly. I think it's time to find my tenants. A week later, a moving truck rumbled down Jurist Drive beneath the April sun. The air smelled of orange blossoms and dust. Evelyn Brooks stood at the curb, clipboard in hand, watching as boxes marked Campos family were carried into the house that once made her feel invisible. Madison stood in the doorway, stiff as the pillars beside her. You're really renting your part of the house to them? She asked, glancing at the newcomers. Teresa Campos, a widowed elementary teacher, and her 2 children, Miguel, 14, and Andrea, 11, bright-eyed, shy, and clutching cardboard boxes like treasure. Yes, Evelyn replied calmly. They need a home. And you, she paused, need a lesson only life can teach. Madison's lips tightened, but she said nothing. Daniel appeared from the kitchen, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. Welcome, he said softly to Teresa. We're glad you're here. Thank you, Mr. Brooks, Teresa replied, her voice warm but steady. And please, call me Teresa. By evening, the Campos family had unpacked. The smell of green enchiladas filled the house. Madison came downstairs, drawn by the aroma. What's that smell? She asked stiffly. Dinner, Teresa said, smiling. We made extra. You're welcome to join us. Madison froze. The invitation, so casual, so kind, hit her harder than any insult. She forced a smile. Thank you. It smells nice. That night, The two families sat at one long table. Jason, Madison, Tyler, Lily, Teresa, Miguel, and Andrea. Forks clinked, children laughed. Madison barely touched her food, uneasy sharing the space she once ruled like a kingdom. Evelyn wasn't there, but her presence filled the house in a new way, like a quiet guardian testing the hearts she had left behind. Over the next weeks, the lessons deepened. Madison struggled with the new rhythm of shared living. Hot water ran out. Fridge shelves overlapped. Voices carried through thin walls. One afternoon, she snapped when Miguel left his soccer cleats by the door. "You can't just leave things lying around," she barked. Teresa met her eyes evenly. "You're right, and I'll remind him. But kindness doesn't cost extra, Mrs. Brooks." Madison blinked, cheeks burning. Later, she apologized, not out of duty, but realization. Meanwhile, Jason began therapy sessions with his mother, as the agreement required. Each Wednesday morning, they met in a cozy room that smelled of peppermint tea and books. "I thought you'd hate me," Jason admitted one day, eyes wet. "I did, for a while," Evelyn said quietly. "Then I realized hating you meant I'd never heal." He nodded, unable to speak. She reached across the table, resting her hand over his. "What I wanted wasn't revenge, Jason. I wanted you to see me again." By the third month, things at the house had changed. Madison found herself tutoring Andrea in math. Tyler and Miguel became inseparable, riding bikes in the cul-de-sac. Teresa and Madison began sharing recipes, laughing softly in the kitchen. One night, Madison texted Evelyn a photo of the dinner table, both families eating together. The caption read simply, "It's working." Evelyn smiled when she saw it. She was living in a small apartment downtown now, teaching knitting at the community center, walking every morning with her friend Linda. Her life was smaller but freer. Her peace bought not with money, but with boundaries. 6 months later, Madison asked Evelyn to meet for coffee. She arrived clutching a folder. "I've been saving," she said nervously. "We spoke with the bank. We want to buy your share of the house, fairly. 5 years, monthly payments, full interest. I want to make it right." Evelyn opened the folder, scanned the numbers, and smiled faintly. "You've changed," she said. "I had to," Madison replied. "You left me no choice but to face the mirror." Evelyn nodded. Good, that was the point. They shook hands. Two women bound by the wreckage they'd survived, and the lesson that remade them both. A year later, Evelyn sat on a park bench with Tyler and Lily, watching the sunset turn the sky amber. Jason approached, carrying coffee for her. "Grandma," Tyler asked, "do you ever regret leaving that night?" Evelyn smiled. "Not for a second. Leaving saved me, and all of you, too." Lily giggled, pointing at a drawing in her lap. It showed Evelyn standing before a bright yellow house, suitcase in one hand, crown on her head. Beneath it, scrawled in a child's handwriting, "Grandma Evelyn, the bravest woman I know. She left to be seen." Evelyn's eyes shimmered as she looked out at the horizon. The wind brushed her hair, soft and free. "Love without respect," she whispered, "is just habit, and habits that hurt you are meant to be broken."